What is up, everybody? We're back here at King Film Sports for another NBA video, and it has been a while, guys, since we've had the NBA content on the channel, but here we have it for you guys, my NBA future bets, and let's get into it. So first, we have my futures for teams to make the playoffs, and as you guys know, the NBA regular season is coming to a close. It usually ends in early April, but this year it's ending mid-May. The NBA play-in tournament starts May 18th, and the actual playoffs, I'm pretty sure, start May 21st. But as you guys know, new this year into the playoffs is the play-in tournament. And quick explanation here for you guys is that it's between the 7 through 10 seeds in the playoffs. So if you're in the top 6, you are safe. If you are from 11 to 15, then you are officially out. And the 7 and 8 seed play in a game. The winner of that automatically is in the playoffs. They are locked in the 7th seed. And the 9 and 10 seeds play in another game. And the loser of that is officially out of the playoffs. And the winner of that plays the loser of the 7-8 matchup. And obviously the team with the higher winning percentage is hosting all of these games. But yeah, so the loser of the 7-8 matchup and the winner of the 9-10 matchup will play in a game, and the winner of that will be locked into the 8th seed, and the loser of that will be out. So even if you are a 9 and 10 seed going to the play-in tournament, you can still punch a ticket into the playoffs if you win 2 consecutive games. So I hope that provides a good enough explanation for you guys to follow along here. And the first team we have is the Washington Wizards, who I have, yes, making the playoffs at plus 250, and here's why. You're getting great value here for a very good squad in the Washington Wizards. Now, as you see the standings, they're currently 29 and 35, and that does not look very good. They're in the 10th seed, but it was much worse a couple weeks ago. They were actually around 15 games below 500, but they're getting it back up. They're safely in the play-in tournament right now. They're about 2.5 games above the Toronto Raptors, and the Raptors really haven't been playing good basketball, so you won't have to worry. They definitely will make the play-in tournament itself. And as for the teams that they're chasing to potentially get a 7 or 8 seed, because as I mentioned earlier, if you get the 7 or 8 seed, then you only have to win 1 out of 2 games to make the playoffs. And I think they can snag that 8 seed from the Hornets or the Pacers, and here is why. So going over their schedule, they face the Pacers on Monday and then again on Saturday. I think they should easily win both of those games. You have a hard test with the Milwaukee Bucks, and then you got a crucial game against Toronto that you got to win. 2 games against Atlanta, and then an easy game against Cleveland. And then I think this will be an essential game to win against Charlotte, the last game of the regular season. I think that game could very well determine who gets the 8th seed in the playoffs, and I think the Wizards can win that game at home. Again, this is a Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook-led squad. Bradley Beal is averaging 31 points, and Russell Westbrook had 13 triple-doubles, I believe, in the month of May. He's really coming in hot to end the regular season. So I think it would be a safe bet to put money on this team, and even if they aren't able to catch the Hornets and the Pacers to get the 8th seed before the regular season ends, I mean, when you really think about it, you have 2 games to solidify yourself in the playoffs. I am betting on Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. Again, great value at the plus 250 mark. Lock it in. Next team we got is the Indiana Pacers, and as you guys can guess, I'm going to say no, and not as good value here at the minus 140, but I really just can't see the Indiana Pacers making the playoffs. They've really been trending downward as of late. I know they beat OKC by over 60 points, it seemed like, but I mean, this is just not a great basketball team, and not one that I think can compete with the Wizards or even the Hornets for that matter. So I don't think they're going to finish in the top 8 in the standings, as they're at the 9 spot right now and only a half game out of the 8, but I see the Wizards catching them, and I really just can't see them winning 2 consecutive games to get into the playoffs. Again, you're seeing their schedule here as you get to the end of the regular season, and those could easily both be losses. Then you've got a terrible stretch. The Sixers, the Bucks, and then the Lakers. I mean, I really don't see them winning any of those 3 games. They could very well end up with the 10 seed. And I really can not see this Indiana team, which really does not have a lot of talent on their roster. I mean, Sabonis had a great stretch early on where he was carrying the team, but they just don't have enough scorers to compete in these playing games. I'm just going to have to say no, they will not make the playoffs. Next, we get on to the Western Conference, where I have the Warriors, yes, making the playoffs at a valuable number, plus 150. Currently sitting at an even record of 32-32 at the 9 seed. They are a half game above the San Antonio Spurs and a half game below the Memphis Grizzlies. But I think they have a very favorable schedule to end off the season. In their last 8 games, they played the New Orleans Pelicans 3 times, and I think that could present a sizable test. But they also faced one of the league's worst teams in the Oklahoma City Thunder. So both of those games are at home. I think they'll win both of those games. Then you've got Utah and Phoenix, 2 pretty hard games. I don't see them winning both of those games, maybe one. But then you have against Memphis, the last game of the regular season. This is kind of like the Wizards versus the Hornets on the last day of the regular season. They've got to win this game against an inferior squad, at least roster-wise, in the Memphis Grizzlies. I just think Steph Curry is going to have a great stretch here in the last 8 games. And even if the Warriors don't play well down the stretch and are in the 9 or 10 seed, rest assured, because Steph Curry will carry this team to at least make the playoffs. These are going to be nationally televised games. He shines in these games. So I see Steph Curry putting up 40 points, 8 threes in some of these games just to carry this Warriors squad to the playoffs. I love this plus 150 number because I honestly see a good chance that the Warriors make a top 8 seed, and even if they don't, I have faith that they can win 2 consecutive games to make the tournament. Now we get into some more serious future bets, some conference championship predictions, and one NBA title future. So here we start out with the Suns, and I really don't see them winning the West, to be quite honest. But I have to give them a future West champs at plus 900. I mean, this team is currently leading the West. Yes, they are tied with the Jazz, but they've beaten them twice this regular season, so they have the head-to-head tiebreaker. And the Jazz are playing without Donovan Mitchell, so I think they're pretty much secured at the 1 seed in the playoffs. And we really don't know how the bracket's going to shake out, but I know they're going to win that first round series against the 8 seed with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, a very talented roster. And then the second round, they could be devastated if they play the Lakers or the Clippers. That very well could happen. And then you've obviously got to win the conference championship. But this team, at 46-18, they've gelled together so well. They have so much chemistry, and you're giving them plus 900. I mean, to be honest, there's more talented teams in the West. Of course, you have even the Nuggets without Jamal Murray. You have the Clippers and the Lakers that I would put as more talented squads with a higher ceiling than this Phoenix Suns team. But the Suns will have home court advantage throughout the playoffs, and they're the number 1 seed. They have the best winning percentage in the Western Conference and in the NBA for that matter. So I think this is so much disrespect putting them at 9-1 to win the Western Conference, in which they will have the best seed. I don't really like that the odds makers did that, so let's punish them here at plus 900. I love that bet. Next, we have another NBA Western Conference champion future, and this is the team that I actually think will win the conference, and here it is, LA Clippers at plus 250. I think this is a great bet. This is the one I was going to go with only, but I saw that the Suns were plus 900, so I had to take it. The Clippers currently sitting at the 4 spot, but they just lost to Denver on Saturday, so they were at the 3 spot. They have been at the 3 seed for most of the regular season. I actually think they will snatch the 3 seed from Denver to round out the regular season. The only reason they've been slipping as of late is because Kawhi's been dealing with a foot issue, and he recently came back. So I think He'll come back. They'll try and get the chemistry back before the playoffs, and I think they will get that 3 seed, the all-important 3 seed, because given if you get that, then you're probably going to play a 6 seed, which is going to be, I would say, the Dallas Mavericks or Portland Trailblazers. The Clippers are much better than those teams. Then you're going to play the 2 seed Utah Jazz. Who knows if they have Donovan Mitchell at that time? Even if they do, I think the Clippers are more talented roster-wise. And then you have the conference championship. And I really just think that the Clippers have one of the highest ceilings in the Western Conference. You would say the Lakers do, but they've been dealing with some issues. You don't know about the health of Anthony Davis and LeBron just coming back from the ankle injury. They've been a bit tumultuous as of late, and they are slipping in the standings, so they might get an unfavorable draw. I just love this Clippers squad because it feels like they're going under the radar. Last year, there was so much pressure on this team with Doc Rivers in his last season. You had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, their first season. It was their time to take over LA to beat the Lakers, and nothing really came of it. They blew a 3-1 lead in the second round of the Nuggets. So this year, with Tyronn Lue as their coach, I mean, no one's really expecting much. And I love the Rajon Rondo addition. I mean, he really builds these teams up. You saw what he did last year for the Lakers with all those assists in the playoffs. So I think this Clippers team, given it will depend on their playoff draw, but I really love them to get out of the West here at a plus 250 number. Next, we get into the Eastern Conference, where the 76ers are plus 450. Now, obviously, the Nets are the safest bet to get out of the Eastern Conference. I mean, when you have James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, obviously you're going to say that. But I love Philadelphia at this plus 450 number because, like the Suns, they are currently in the number 1 seed in their respective conference. And really, when you're talking about the East, there's 3 legitimate teams that have a chance at winning the conference. You have Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee. And the Nets and the Sixers are duking it out to get the number 1 seed. The Bucks are really just stuck at the 3rd seed, so they're going to have to go through the 2 other teams. But say Philadelphia can hold on, and they do actually have an easier schedule than the Nets. So I think the odds would favor them holding on to this 1 seed. Then they'll easily get through the first 2 rounds where they'll face teams like the Hornets or the Wizards in the first round, and then the Hawks or the Knicks in the second round. Those are both easy wins in a series in which Philadelphia has Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons. So then you're really just going off of the conference championship in which you're facing a fatigued either Milwaukee Bucks team or Brooklyn Nets team. So I love the value here with the Philadelphia Sixers, especially if they get the number 1 seed and have home court advantage throughout the playoffs. These Philadelphia fans are going to be nasty. I think Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons might have a great playoff run with Doc Rivers as their coach, and I love the number at plus 450. Great value, as Vegas is kind of overrating the Nets, considering that the Nets have a pretty tough schedule, probably won't end up getting the 1 seed in the East, and will have to go through the Bucks and the Sixers in the playoffs. I love the Sixers at plus 450. And finally, we get into my only NBA title future, and I have the Nets at plus 250. I mean, what can you really do here? I know I just explained why I think the Sixers have a great chance to win the East, and really I just fell in love with the number because plus 450 for the team that's the 1 seed and has such an easy draw in the playoffs was just too tough to pass up. But the Nets also at plus 250. I mean, I would be shocked if they don't win the NBA championship this year. I mean, it's just such a talented squad. The only thing you're really concerned about here is the injuries. It seemed like for a lot of the regular season, it was just James Harden playing, kind of carrying the team. Remember, they went on a great stretch, and then all of the players were missing for a period of games. Then Kyrie came back. Then Kevin Durant recently came back. Harden's been injured, and hopefully he comes back by the playoffs. You'd hope that one of their stars doesn't get injured during the playoffs because they've been out for so long. They don't have a lot of chemistry. But even if one of them does get injured, I still have faith that they can pull it through. I mean, this is still a very talented roster, a great coaching staff throughout. So even if one of the three does get injured, I mean, I think the other two can pick up the slack. And I just really can't see a team beating the Nets. I mean, it would be shocking. So give me the Nets at plus 250. I think that's still pretty low considering all the talent that they have on their roster. So give me Brooklyn to win the NBA championship there. And that's going to conclude the NBA futures, guys. Let me know what you guys think of my future bets in the comments down below. I want to know. Tell me your guys' best futures for the NBA season, and I will see you all in the next one.